Senator Paxton, for what purpose?
To ask the author a question.
Recognize.
I yield.
Do you yield?
I yield.
Thank you, Senator Perry. It does seem that there seems to be some concern around the idea of the subjectivity of an idea like sincerely held religious belief. And I wonder, are you familiar with the term in good faith?
Yes.
Would you agree that there are probably people who claim to have acted in good faith that are bad actors?
Correct.
And yet, this is a term that's used in statute. It's a term that is used in contracts. And yet, this is something that is something we see in statute and contracts all the time, in good faith. Some people might abuse it. Many people act in good faith. How do you think if a person is accused of not acting in good faith, perhaps, how would that be determined?
It's subjective, and outcomes usually will give a pretty good indication of whether that person was acting in good faith or not. So your product of being in good faith or not is pretty clear. If someone was harmed or something happened that was unintended, as has been laid out, that was probably not a good faith. That was probably not something that was sincere. That was something other than that. I truly believe that people that are operating in sincere faith, as much as we can agree or disagree with some of the doctrine differences, that you will clearly know when someone has denied service based on that belief.
And wouldn't you think that in the same way that if a person was claiming to have acted in good faith, or perhaps hiding behind that idea of having acted in good faith, that generally speaking, when that's being contested, there is some investigation that takes place, some exploration by an authority that determines whether or not that person acted in good faith, going at their intention or motivation. Wouldn't you think that in using language like sincerely held religious belief, that a similar process would be followed? And this is a long time tested process, following through and assessing if someone has acted in good faith. And in the same way, I think good actors and bad actors can be assessed in the same way with this sort of language, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think courts have case by case made those determinations throughout the history. And I guess that's part of my concerns about having an administrative board make that. And so to have the ability to have as a defense to force the issue to the appropriate level of reconciliation only makes sense to me. But the answer to your question is it's a people issue, and people issues are always messy. But I think at the end of the day, more often than not, people issues get resolved by good people trying to help make that decision. And I trust the courts to do that.
I agree with you. And you know, as we were talking earlier, Senator West brought up the very famous statement by Jesus, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. And, I guess I would like to remind us all that part of the uniqueness of the United States of America is that codified in the documents that our nation was founded upon is the principle, and in fact the very first principle, of religious freedom. And when Jesus spoke those famous words, he was speaking of a specific governmental authority, render unto Caesar, and the Roman Empire was the governmental authority under which Jesus lived. And so when he said those words, he spoke of governmental authority, and he spoke of the Roman Empire. But as we speak today, we don't speak under the authority of the Roman Empire. We speak as citizens of the state of Texas in the United States of America. And in the United States, the bifurcation is not the same. And in fact, you can make a strong argument that when we in the United States say render unto Caesar, when we reference governmental authority, implicit in that is our protection of religious freedom. And when we speak of unintended consequences, I would have to say that if we do not protect this most foundational of freedoms in our our Constitution, the freedom of religion, if we do not protect that, there are severe unintended consequences. And we will see an unraveling of our other freedoms like we've never seen before. And I'd like to thank you for bringing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.